An ESOP is one of the best kept secrets. We see this wave, this baby boomer retiring wave coming. They're looking for different options. And this is a great option. It's where you actually are able to sell your business to your employees, but they're not putting the money in. The company puts in the contribution form. After about 10 years after someone does an ESOP transaction, the average employee will end up getting as a gift about 4.6 times their highest salary.
All right, everybody, welcome to today's version of the Alliance Group podcast. I got a special guest here. We're going to be talking about a topic that I've grown ever fascinated with. As the more I learn about it, the more I want to learn more about it. Over the last couple of weeks, months, and I actually saw you present at a CPA symposium not too long ago. Just finding myself just really wanting to learn more and more about this idea, this concept, this strategy for small business owners, which is called an ESOP. Which is an employee stock ownership plan. And I have with me here Jeff Forestto, who's my personal CPA. He has tons and tons of credentials, 15 different credentials. He's a life insurance agent, health insurance agent. He's a Series 6, 7, 63, 65 licensed financial advisor, a CPA, an ABV, which is a business valuation expert, a CVA, a CFF, a CFE, an MFFE, a PFS, a QKA, a QPA, and he also, on the side, does lectures for the SBA about ESOPs and local banks around the area. So he's truly a qualified person to talk about this particular strategy. And you even manage and do audits and
Yes.
Valuations for existing ESOPs.
Mm-hmm.
So Jeff, what is an ESOP? Tell me what an ESOP is.
So an ESOP is one of the best kept secrets. And I think we've talked about, we see this wave, this baby boomer retiring wave coming.
They call it the silver tsunami. Is that?
So very good.
It is. So it's baby boomers that getting into that retirement.
There's so many people getting out, and they're looking for different options. And this is a great option. I actually like this option. I'll talk more about it, but it's where you actually are able to sell your business to your employees. Now, it's a retirement plan. Think of it like a 401k plan, but they're not putting the money in. It's all the company puts in the contribution form. The company makes the out of profits. Actually, after they buy out the owner, they actually have a benefit for employees, and it's a great benefit for the average ESOP. Or look at the numbers. After about 10 years after someone does an ESOP transaction, the average employee will end up getting as a gift, not their money, just the gift, about 4.6 times their highest salary.
Oh, wow.
To walk away. So it's in retirement plan like an IRA. So it's a great benefit.
And that could stack on top of the company 401k qualified plans, everything.
Most have 401k plans and they have an ESOP plan.
So we're talking about that silver tsunami. I actually read recently that there's over 2.5 million businesses in the United States that are going to transition between current ownership to something else, whether it's selling, whether it's giving to a family member, selling to a venture capital, or just shutting down. There's going to be 2.5 million businesses over the next 10 years that are going to transition ownership. It's becoming more known that this is available as an option for that business. It's just not known by the average person as a strategy that they could do. And I do think it helps a lot with some of the problems that a business owner has of letting go of that business, that thing that they built and created for 20, 30, 40 years, and the whole transition of. Why do you think they're not so known? Why and not understood commonly?
Well, I assume you're probably going to hear about them from possibly CPAs. But if you ever worked with a CPA, they're big on no, because if they don't know it, then it's a bad idea. So you're definitely not hearing from them. There's not a lot of education out there about it. In the past, they've been around since 1974 when ERISA was founded, but it largely, even for myself, before a number of years ago, it was largely the very large companies, maybe 500 employees, 1,000 employees, 10,000 employees, actually ESOP owned, and it's these large deals and involve investment bankers, and that's not what I'm talking about. I can get everything done with no investment banker because they charge a fee, but they don't bring anything really to the table. So looking at this normal, I don't say average, but our normal small business being, I'm talking about number of employees, where you're saying maybe you've got more than 5 and maybe you have less than, there's not really a cap. So you definitely can do it. Works out if you have a lot of great people, but we put together several that have 10 people, 20 people. It's not unforeseeable at all. It's very possible.
So how do they work? Can you walk us through like a step-by-step process of how you would set up
So
ESOP?
the process works. So first you think, usually what happens, and I've actually taken 3 of my own clients this year from our CPA firm who had
3 this year.
3 this year. Each had failures of other equity people coming in. Oh, we're going to buy you. You're worth so much money. It's going to be great. And they all get excited. And then the accountants come in and start beating everybody up. And the numbers get smaller and smaller. And they get mad and they walk away. And I was like, hey, I said, I keep trying this again with all these brokers who want 10 to 15%. Do you want to look at an ESOP?
And they're wanting to buy it for less and less and less.
Oh, they want to beat the number down. Have you reinvest 20%, and then you're going to pay tax on the whole thing. It's like a whole schematic. Pretty much, let me give you my company. You finance everything. You take no risk. And if it ever rolls up, then great. If not, they already got their money. And usually, that model often destroys the company, destroys the people, because it's not what you intended. You want your employees are like your family. You want the legacy to continue. Everybody continue. So with an ESOP, maybe you've been down the road and you're frustrated. That was a very miserable experience of due diligence. I want to look at the ESOP. What do you think, Jeff? So, well, first thing we have to do, look at the value of your company. Or if you already know, you did a valuation, maybe already, what is it worth? You have an idea, and the question is, would you sell it for that? So if you're cool with that part, and we move on, then now it's feasibility. Let me go ahead and look at your financials, and I have to do some 5-year projections and look at your trends in the back and look at some analysis spread to say, this is everything a bank's going to look at, anybody's going to look at. We want to make sure this is going to be successful. We talk to banks who do like ESOPs. They do loans for ESOPs, and as most every regional national bank will. And then we'll say, all right, hey, let's get a loan. What's the rate? What's the term? Get some information on it. And I'll make sure we have to have enough cushion, good cash flow that we're all comfortable with to be successful. And then it could end up where
got to be able to pay the loan. You got to have profits to be able to pay the loan.
Maybe you as the seller has to take back 20, 30, 40%. Or maybe you want to, or maybe you want to sell all of it. Just depends. Then after we make that decision, we say, yes, this is feasible. This could work. Financing can work. This is long-term achievable. Great. We know the value, ready to go. Then I introduce you to, or someone like myself, like I'm a sell-side advisor, meaning we help you. We give you advice on the seller side. It's very split. The buyer, then we go find, now we know what we're worth. We think it's worthwhile to do this. And we stop at any point along the way.
Yeah.
And so you don't like the results, stop. You're not engaging, contracting with myself or anybody other CPA like this and on the hook for something. You make your decision. Do we keep going? Now we want to keep going. We're going to find a trustee. And trustee is usually another attorney or CPA or somebody who can represent your future ESOP plan, your future retirement plan for the company. So they're kind of representing the future employees. And they're required by the Department of Labor to say it's a fair deal. And you can't, they're making sure you as a seller can't go up and say, oh yeah, we're worth $25 million and you're really worth 10.
Yeah.
They want to make sure the employees agree to give you this money because they owe you the money through a bank loan or through seller finance, that it really is a fair deal. So that trustee hires their own valuation person, and then they kind of duke it out and they come up with their value. And then our side and the trustee side negotiate 3 or 4 times.
Buyer, seller.
And we kind of come to, it's one of the nicest negotiations ever. We're not really trying to hose each other. We just got to prove we're fair.
Right.
And then because everybody's
That's
happy, it's very, very cordial. And we get done with that and you come to an agreement. Well, now you bring in the attorney and they actually do the documents, the closing documents, and the bank actually does the loan, and it kind of happens. And the next day after the deal happens, nothing changed. If I'm the owner and I don't want to be there, I mean, I can walk away.
But
I
could
don't
stay on.
That's right. So I would still, maybe it's a point where you want to sell and I want to take money off the table, maybe a third of it, half of it, all of it. I want to cash out. I'm done with, the worried about the economy and the effects of tariffs on my business or whatever, lawsuit may come from something crazy. So it's really take the worries off, take the cash out. And then, you probably are one of the best C-suite CEO type people there is. Now, if you want to hire someone else, they will make sure if you can't just walk away. They would make you wait until you hire another CEO if you're not gonna be there. But if I'm gonna stay on, I negotiate part of my employment plan. And it's not what I was making before.
Right.
This is,
Yeah,
I'm
taking
going
the
to show up
profits and
like a
everything else.
normal thing. If you had, this is what somebody would make, this is their role, here's the benefits in there. So
This is what a typical person would be paid to serve that role.
the whole sweet part about this, the secret sauce, is once the ESOP is owned, the stock is owned by the ESOP, you want to elect to be an S corporation. Ideally, you can be a C, but ideally it's an S. So you think about your S, you get a K1, and the K1 goes into the owner. But an ESOP is a retirement plan, doesn't ever pay tax. Like your IRA doesn't pay tax, your 401k doesn't pay any income tax. So the company will never, ever, ever, ever pay tax. So that extra 25 to 35% that you're spending of profit right now, we're using that for debt service.
Yeah, that goes back to the feasibility.
Yep.
Can that amount of money cover the debt service on the loan that the business is now taking out? That's ESOP is having to. That's the obligation of that ESOP. Is it a retirement plan? Is it a trust? Is it a business?
It's a trust, and the trust owns all the shares, right? And the trustee oversees the shares. So a question I get is, oh my gosh, what's going to look like the day after? We didn't fire anybody. We didn't hire anybody. We're doing the same job. The trustee only really gets usually three times they have a voice or an opinion or something. If you're going to actually buy another company, if you're going to sell this company, because you could sell it, then
the ESOP could sell to a venture capital.
As long as it's a good fee.
10 years down the road, we're all going to cash out, right?
If it's a good value, then they could agree to sell it. Or if you're going to sell off the majority of the ESOP assets, that's it. They come to board meetings quarterly or semi-annually, but they don't actually. They're not running the business. I hired you to run the business. So there is no new management company, nothing changing. The other big question I get is from employees when they suddenly go, oh man, we're all going to roll up in there and see what Lee used to make. We're going to go and get us all a car or some kind of crazy thoughts. And it's like, no, you're not. You're not. So the employees don't ever own any shares, ever. They have a right, an option to purchase shares. So long of this over time is we're putting, like we have an accounting ledger and we keep track each year, and I've got these different people. This employee, they're going to get so many shares that they get set aside in their little ledger. Each year you get more based on an allocation of your W-2. If you make up 3% of all W-2s, you'll get 3% of that year's allocation. And all my shares add up, and eventually I retire, and I've been here 15 years, then we have to do a valuation each year. So if I've got 1,911 shares, well, what's that worth? I don't know what the value was. Then I cash out. So I go to the trustee and I'll say, hey, I'd like to retire. I've got 1,911 shares. Can I have some money, please? And he goes, and actually what I'm giving him is options. I'm giving my options to purchase into the company. And he goes, no, we never allow anyone to exercise the options, but in exchange for those, you're forced to take cash instead. So here, that was $400,000, then $400,000 in cash now goes into my IRA. So there is no ownership of the employees ever. There's no sharing of the books. There's no extra information.
So it's on paper, so to speak.
Yep.
What types of businesses are good for this? What type of businesses are bad? Is there a minimum number of employees? Is there a minimum amount of profitability? What kind of metrics there?
Good question. I think profitability, yes, there are fees. Yes, you're not paying tax. That is huge. So if you have 30% of your profit, say 30, 35, you're not paying tax on, that's a big savings. Doesn't mean to waste it though. But you do have to hire a trustee. Every ESOP I've ever worked with and ever seen, the company after sale will have to have their financials audited or minimum reviewed, like a little mini audit, by a CPA firm each year. Because the value is based of the company that the employees eventually will get. It's got to be based on the financials. So we have to get them certified, and you have to have a valuation person each year. So there are some extra costs that you're going to incur. So if you're not making much money, as we look at the feasibility, as you said, maybe that's not the best option. We have an idea. So this is a great option for most profitable businesses. Say at least 5 employees. I've done a 6-person architectural firm in Arizona that actually had low, maybe like $500,000 EBITDA. It still works, but you don't have to be 800 people. There's no cap. There's no cap on number of employees, no cap on size.
But you can't be a sole proprietor.
No.
You got to have some.
You have to have employees. You got to have people. So that's a good point. You have to actually have, I'd say, and this is not 1099s. This is actually W-2 employees. So you have to have, say, if you don't have more than 5, you're not showing at least $500,000 a year in profit, or really we call, that's probably fair to say, just profit, then that's possible, but it's questionable with the feasibility.
What's the
tournament.
ideal client,
The ideal client, well,
numbers wise?
I haven't seen it. I mean, I just did one up in Michigan in January. They had about 20 people. They were doing about 3.5 million gross, maybe making about 9. Did that. That worked well. Then I've seen one, as did another one of our clients, actually is a large general contractor around here that actually, they had about 160 employees and they're making about $4 million a year. So it's just, everyone's different. So there's not even a minimum. There's a minimum just because it's cost beneficial and you have to have W-2s, but there's not a maximum. What we see is a combination of something else. If you're not sure what this other piece is, look up something called Qualified Small Business Stock, QSBS, code section 1202. Ask your little chat GPT. It'll give you a little nice summary. And what that tells you is if you've been a C Corp for 5 years and you structure this thing correctly, and you may get some help with that, structure it correctly, then you actually, you can exclude $10 million a gain if you sell the stock of your company. And how many people ever want to buy stock? Nobody wants to buy stock. You'd be crazy because you're accepting liability and risk and the unknowns. Most business deals that we see, and what our firm values, probably 40 SBA, the business purchases a month, where we're actually seeing across the country where SBA loans are buying other small business. Mostly it's asset purchase agreements. It's not stock agreements. So ideal, if you sold stock straight out, maybe it's capital gains. That's all great for the seller, bad for the buyer.
Right.
So we don't usually like that. However, ESOP has to be a stock deal. Well, that's nice. So if I sell it to an ESOP, then I could actually have been, I've been a C Corp for 5 yered. If you planned ahead pretty well, you could do it tax-free, or at least first 10 million of it if you worth more than 10 million. The other option is you could actually take any practice, even some of the professional practices. Let's just say like a CPA firm. So if I took a CPA firm and said you could actually been a C Corp and I sell it to the ESOP, if I'm a C Corp at the day I sell, it's code section 1042, right next to 1031, kind of like a
1035.
like 1035.
Same code now.
Very nice. So, but so you're swapping. I'm swapping my stock I have in my closely held business for other stock, and the other stock is anything on the U.S. exchange, New York stock market, normal things that you're going to find. No cash, no money market, no CD, no bonds, no annuities. It's actively traded business. If you ever sell it, you will pay the gain. So you don't. You buy a whole diversified, worth of stock, gets a diversified portfolio with a lot of dividend paying stocks. And actually, I can show you how to use a margin account against that. But the point is, that's a significant point when I said one of the key things about an ESOP usually gets people attention. I'm like, wow, what if I told you you could actually sell your company and not pay income tax? That got me. Much more attention right away because you're increasing the value of the company, your net take away
The net.
at least 25%.
Yeah. We talked a little bit about the benefits of the owners. What are the benefits to the employees?
With that, what I like about that is from the employee perspective, you've got two different groups. You got your kind of management group, depending on the size of the company, and then your everybody else kind of employees. Your management group, we can do something called stock appreciation right program. It's kind of like a management incentive program. Either term's fine. Not a qualified plan, meaning anybody could be in it. You design what you want, and you're allowed to say, hey guys, if this is what our company stock is worth today, in 5 years, if we get to this number, if we exceed that value, all of you guys get a predetermined extra cash bonus. It's an earnout. Think of it like an earnout. Same thing. Where if you sell it to private equity, they'll say, well, if you hit these numbers in the next 3 years, we'll give you more money. That's what this is. So yes, you still get an earnout. So you get that for that group. For the average employee, it's peace of mind. You're vested. Investing does start after the sale. So you're going to be getting something that no one else can give you. If I don't know many places, if you're there 10 years, you get 4 times salaries, profit sharing. And this small companies.
Yeah.
That's like a 30-person company. That's a pretty big
deal.
And you still have your 401k on top of that. And I think you realize it's actually making a difference. And the other coworkers we see where the impact that you're having and they're having on the business affects each one of you.
Yeah. It impacts the culture and the, like that whole business.
Yeah.
Like everybody fighting for the company, doing
Yes.
the right thing for
They-
the company,
they are the company.
first, right?
And I've seen them, the culture change where it kind of pushes out negative people. It pushes out low performers because they're doing better. There's big companies and small companies have actually converted to this. There's over 6,200 ESOPs in the country right now. Most are big. We're starting to see a lot smaller ones come around.
I gotta imagine that it just would really boost the overall morale of the average employee of, not just coming to work to come to work to earn a W-2. It's like, no, I'm coming to work to build this company that I own part of, right?
And it's the acknowledgement too. Let's say you've got somebody's getting out on the silver tsunami wave that's coming in, and they've got kids working in their business already. Maybe they're awesome, maybe they're not. I'm not gonna say, but maybe for them, it's like maybe the owner said, I realize this business is all the people. It's not like kind of a pass down to someone else and they get the right to buy it because you need all these people here to make it successful for everybody to be good. Well, maybe they'll carve off 20% for those. Sell your shares to your own kids at 20, maybe 20, 25% or 50% or whatever you want, but then give the rest to the ESOP. And you're telling the people, I acknowledge you got us here.
Right.
Not just my family. It's all of you. So let me help you.
And that could help out tremendously with the nepotism that could happen. I mean, it could actually have a negative effect if you give it to your kids and they're not capable of running the company, and you got this management staff that's built it, and they're like, now I'm having to report to this guy, right? I'm having to report to her, and she wasn't here through the blood, sweat, and the tears, of building this company. And that person may say, hey, I know how to run this company. I'm going to go set it up over here and do that, right? So I think it's a great way to bring everybody together. Our slogan is "Together We're Better." Bring everybody together to kind of like you said, continue that legacy. So we talked about the tax advantages to the business owner. We talked about the advantages of that creating your own buyer versus having to go out to the market, venture capital, and dealing with all those sharks.
Add more to that too on the own buyer. So I actually believe in this theory enough and this concept. I've committed to sell our firm. Like I'm the sole equity owner in our CPA firm. We're 30 staff, so it's to itself. So we'll sell to an ESOP in a couple of years. The coolest thing is that I realized I know the date. I know the date. Not only I don't have to look for a buyer. No, I know the date. In 4 years and 3 months and 2 days, that's my day. That peace of mind is amazing when you don't have to worry about what if I can't find anybody? What if the market's down? What if you pick your date?
That's a great thing to think about it. Not only the peace of mind of knowing that, but also the planning that can go along with it, right? So that you can start going down that track of what it looks like in 1 year, 2 years, 5 years
building
down the road.
And part of it we say too is you're required. ESOP is required to do 5-year projections. We have to look to the future, not just the past. And we have to use that future 5-year the 5 years projection in our valuations. And doing that actually results in a higher value because I've never met a projection I didn't like.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Like if your CFO is telling you the projection is going down, yeah. If your CFO goes, it's not looking good next year. Well, we're going to change course. You don't just go, oh darn, okay, that's just going to be too bad. So at least with that, you'll end up with by using compared to equity transactions for an ESOP transaction, you will end up with a higher value because I'm using discounted future cash flows on a 5-year projection.
That's a massive benefit.
So if I'm getting a 20% higher bump on it, pretty much on my overall value compared to equity, who's beating me up, taking my last worst period, my last 4 years, and trying to just find every nickel and dime they can to beat me down. I'm looking to the future, going to have that. I still got my earn out. That's awesome. And I'm not paying tax on this. Oh my gosh. It's like, this is just getting better and better. And I'm actually helping my employees.
Right.
And they're getting this huge benefit. And I'm going to stay around. I can cash out, part, all, whatever, stay around.
You don't do it in steps.
That's good. Yep.
Like kind of going back to what, having that plan out there and doing it in steps for sure. So tax advantages of the business owner, legacy planning for the big business owner, and making sure that stays with the company. You take care of the employees that got you there. What are some other benefits to the owner of the company that would be selling to an ESOP?
I think that's there's the financial, the value's higher, the tax savings. Actually, surprising enough, getting loans is not hard. If you actually can use an SBA loan.
So the business
finance
owner
this
have to personally guarantee that?
No, that's awesome. That was a great tee up. That's
Yeah.
like we've been to Top Golf together. So that was so with that, if you use an SBA 7A loan, the 7As are actually offered by most every PLP preferred lending partner by every regional bank and higher. Any of them can do it. This only started happening. This changed in November of 23. So this is very recent. This is also what we haven't seen as many because they're small. SBA works with smaller deals being loans up to $5 million. There's currently a bill in front of Congress right now that's passed the House, sitting in front of the Senate to raise the SBA 7A loans to 10 million cap instead of 5. Big game changer.
Yeah.
Now, so wow, Jeff, I'm pretty awesome. My value is more than 5 million. There's tranches. I may want to take down the first 30% of 5 million, come back and pay that off, do another tranche of 5 million. Maybe I'll do some owner finance. So it's a combination of things.
So you could do a combination of
Yeah.
SBA loan, owner financing.
Yep.
And then once the SBA is paid off, then kind of shuffling around, going back to that whole planning.
If you do an SBA loan, there's no guarantor. So then what you said, I sold my company, I still work there, put the cash in my investments, and if the new management group really goes bad or something crazy goes bad, that's pretty bad.
Yeah.
But I still have my money.
I mean, every business owner has those things that keep them up at night, right? So what happens if this happens? What happens if my main vendor says that they don't want to do business?
Well, hopefully
with
I
me?
bought some insurance.
Yeah, right. But so this allows them, like, as you said earlier, I think this is the one of the great things about this strategy. It allows them to take some chips off the table, and doing it in a way that is tax benefit, helping the employees, helping the business, providing
That's
the
like next management generation stand up. So you're not. It's like you're always afraid with your kids to let them go. If you're chasing behind the bike and you want to let go of the seat, you're already running with them, and you're still jogging. Not that you're going to catch them, but that's kind of like you after you sold. You're still kind of there, but you're not really responsible for them. And you'll see that management team can actually can do well.
Yeah, they actually step up and start doing things without you, right? I mean, you talked about some examples of like ones that What are some examples of ESOPs that maybe the average public doesn't know that they're an ESOP, that they're using all the time?
Hey, crazy. One of the ones I think of is always contractors, general construction companies. If you're in the South, you've heard of Winters Construction. Choate is another one. Those are both ESOP owned, 100% owned. So they're almost sometimes when you get too large of an entity, that's Publix is another one. Kroger's one of them. You could actually say where you're too big to have any one person take you out, and that's a real problem. Maybe like your management team, there's not one person. You need the whole team of them to take you out. So it's an option. But there's one of the largest financial services one that was ESOP ever done was last year by BDO. This is one of the top 10 CPA firms.
Yeah, CPA firm.
Yeah, if you're in my world, that was
Yeah,
BDO. But there's more.
They're an ESOP now. Huh?
Yep, there's more and more of them. It's I think as we've been doing here, you start peeling back the benefits and look at this differently. It's not just for venture capitalists. It's not someone trying to buy a company and flip something. When you really want to continue the legacy, take care of your people, and then the seller gets some really good benefits too. It's a good extra tool.
I know we talked about one that you were working on, and I don't even remember the industry, but you were saying that the biggest motivator from the business owner standpoint of actually doing it was he knew if he sold to venture capital, he had people lined up. He knew if he sold to venture capital that they would shut the business down. And they would just move everything over to a new location and be just running it there, the accounting, like all those people that have been there for so long that they would all get fired.
All the people who helped them build it. And those families. And that's they want to believe. I think you have to have you have to want to believe that these new people buying it, they're going to keep everybody employed for a long time. They're going to keep on doing, and that's not their interest. They're just there to make money.
So, and that particular person, the reason why he didn't sell, even though he probably should at his age, right, is because he cared so much about those individuals, and that kept him in the business, kept him running the business, which he didn't want to do. He wanted to be spending more time with his family and doing those things, but he's kind of caught in the in-between phase, and this allowed him to have the best of both worlds.
It did, and then he got higher value, paid less tax, and didn't guarantee the loan. So it's like, wow, okay, this was much better. The only people left out is that investment broker over there on the side and the business broker who wants their 5 to 10% going, no, 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 no. You need me to do something. We don't need you at all.
Yeah.
So I'd rather give it to the employees than give it to some sharks.
Exactly. I was just about to say the same thing. Give it to the employees instead of the sharks, right? And the people that are just trying to dwindle you down and get the least, give the least amount to get the most. We talked about some of them. What are some other potential challenges, like main challenges, downsides of an ESOP? Obviously, the cost and the expenses.
The shock for some business owners. So even for myself, there's certain things I like to take advantage of. The company pays for me that I don't necessarily think of as a perk or compensation. Like your car, maybe my meals, some of the extra professional services, attorney, CPA fees, maybe I'm paying for, the company's paid for. That's always a little bit of a, what do you mean that's not included?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're not doing it for all the employees, so we can't do it for you.
Right.
Well, what do you mean my Falcon tickets aren't that great? Oh, okay, well, so there are some things, even though you know about them, because in the valuation, we kind of add them back saying, hey, these aren't required. But there's sometimes a disconnect of these expenses aren't required and we'll no longer pay for them. That's it. If you stay around, we gave you a lot of money. You can go buy that.
You had to pay that expense yourself out of your personal account, right?
And then also
That's the point.
The reality in your employment agreement too. I've seen a couple of folks, and this is even when it's not an ESOP, they just sell their business and they go, I'm going to stay on as CEO for 6 months or a year. And now you got to pretty much answer to other people. You're responsible. Most entrepreneurs work more than 40 hours a week. But if their contract says you'll work 40 hours a week, you have so much vacation, you're subject to the same limitations and benefits just like everybody else. And that's sometimes a shocker. When I see a lot of CEOs, if it's ESOP or just traditional, they sold, they're like, you know what? No, I'm out. I'm good.
Yeah.
Less likely with an ESOP because it's still your own team. It's still your own people who you had synergy, which made you successful. Not some new kid from some awesome school with some
Yeah. So yeah, don't say anything bad. We'd have to cut it out if you did.
I know.
It's just wasting. See, so what are any kind of misconceptions that you would like to clear up, or things that are out there that just say, hey, ESOPs are bad? Other than you mentioned earlier, like going to your CPA and talking about it, and if he doesn't know about it, he's just automatically say no.
That's no. Yeah, I can't help. There's I will say there's some there's two great associations. There's ESOP Association, like Employee Ownership Association. It's a nonprofit, and there's also NCEO.org, the National Center for Employee Ownership.org. Both are free. Definitely check those out. There's some great small books, like not much investment, maybe 150-page book. Both of them have little mini conferences. And what I like about the community, they are pretty open to be helpful, and that'd be from risk attorneys or advisors or people with organizations who help connect you with the right people to answer more questions and sometimes give you find out about other people who've done it. If you think this is reasonable, something that may fit to you, you may consider actually joining one of the organizations to find out who some other people, because they'll tell you once you join, who've actually done it. And those people, good or bad,
they're like your business,
they'll
right?
they'll say, hey, can I come up and spend a day with you, or can we spend an hour on the phone together and tell me you're good and bad, and get some real stories from people who were in your shoes 5 years ago or 1 year ago.
For business owners that are listening, that are curious about ESOPs, what would be their first step? Educating yourself, obviously, but like
there's also a podcast I have. If they contact your office, you guys, we can send you some free information on this too. There's a great free podcast, Journey to an ESOP.
I've been listening to that.
Actually, a friend of mine puts it on. It's a CPA. It's let's not get your hopes too high. Don't listen to stuff with the family.
They get excited whenever they get
it is
tax code.
We get so excited, CPAs and people. I'm on a couple episodes with them, but it's that's a good place because
I can listen to those. I haven't listened to you.
Yeah, you have to find me. So it's what's nice because you can look at the topic and then skip ahead to that top. Oh, maybe that's a question you had, and that's helped a lot of potential people considering this I've talked to. Is look at some of these books like from the NCEO.org or Journey to an ESOP, or call and ask for some advice. Educate yourself. Find out a little bit about it. It's a lot to. It's not a cookie cutter. You're going to customize this to fit what you want. Down early on, talked about the process.
And it would be different for each business and each situation,
Mhm.
each structure, and the goals of that business owner as well.
Mhm. Yep.
So there's lots to take in. And as I said at the beginning of this, the more I talk about it, the more I talk to people like Jeff, and the more I educate myself on it, the more I'm intrigued by it. I was actually just with a client not too long ago, and just like hearing their story, and I brought it up. I was like, man, I think this would be great for you and your situation because of what you're saying to me,
Mhm.
how you want to take care of your staff, where you're at, you're continuing to want to grow. And and he's like, I've never heard of that before. And I think that's the reaction that you get from a lot of business owners out there.
Yes.
And so what we're trying to do with this is just educate, educate, and get this information out there. I am super excited to continue to learn more. And thank you, Jeff, for being
No,
here today.
glad to come. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah,
The same. I was as much education as we can do and help people out. There's no benefit for us, but just share information.
absolutely. Well, thanks, everybody. Hope you got a lot out of this. Until next time, signing off from the Alliance Group Podcast.
Listen to this interview and more on the Alliance Group Podcast.